Hi there, welcome to our second workshop and a brand new video series. Now boys, Model World Live, as we all know, it's all about combining model railways and scale modelling to see what you can actually do either in a large space or a small space. So I had an idea. And Scale Model Scenery have given us a few baseboards over here, some of their large baseboards that you can either build a layout or a diorama on. And I thought, in the spirit of Model World Live, we could each build something as a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, challenge sounds like a good plan.
I love a challenge.
Yeah, I think actually what we should do at the end, we get everyone to vote for who they think has built the best one.
Oh, you mean all of us vote for it?
No, everyone else votes for which one they think.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, well, you can't vote for your own. That would be cheating.
Oh no, I'll
get family to vote.
No, family and friends voting either. No,
we'll pay one biscuits and crisps. All right. Yeah, look, I think that's a fantastic idea. So the whole idea is to basically see what you can do in a very small space and let your creativity run wild. But in our case, do it in a very small amount of time because we haven't got time available.
Yes. So we have zero time and zero time, zero space. Let's see what we can make. Yeah.
So off the top of your heads, what do you think? What are you thinking as far as what you could potentially achieve, boys?
I've got a little idea for a little partially off-scene diesel depot, but I'll formulate some ideas on that.
Okay, don't give your secrets away. Ben, what about yourself?
Sort of an urban shed scene, sort of Nine Elms themed. I think we have to look through the houses to see the what's going on.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Complicated, that's fine. What about yourself, Mike?
Me, I've got a bit of a cutting idea. So cutting edge, we'll call it.
There you go. No little hints over there.
So sharp.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
We'll finish it off with a bit of tunneling at the end, yeah.
Oh, God, you rode that joke far too long.
Yes.
Right, and finally, I have been gifted with a whole bunch of Black 5 spares from Alice Clark from his wonderful O-gauge model, and I might do something creative with all those spares.
Cool. Doing that, yeah.
Well. So hang around. This will be a very fun challenge, and we will see what happens along the way.
Yes. See what happens next.
Who's the best?
Who's the best? I don't know. Me. No, you.
No,
him.
You're the best. You're the next best. You're the second best, and I'm the best.
But who's best? Best? But who's bestest?
Just hang around and watch the series. You're going to love it.
So you're building a model railway. Here at TMC, the Model Centre, we cater for all your modelling needs, whether that's Pico Track, Woodland Scenics accessories, even DCC Concepts layout control. And as you'll see behind me, we have a very small selection of one of many different brands we stock, such as Oxford Diecast, Hornby, Bachmann, even Accurascale. Take a look at our website to see the full range of our products. And don't forget, every Friday we upload our new pre-owned listings if you'd like to save a little bit more on your layout build. Perhaps you're stuck with an aspect of railway modelling, or any other aspect of modelling for that fact. Our customer service team is just an email or a phone call away. For everything else, you can visit our website at themodelcentre.com, and if you're passing in the area near Beckhole, Whitby, pop in and see our showroom.
Right, diorama challenge baseboards. So we're going to be using these scale model scenery boards. I've already got one built here, so you can see how it actually looks when it's finished. And this is how they arrive. So they come flat packed like this, combination of MDF and plywood laser cut parts in there. You've also got the instruction sheet and a set of bolts and wing nuts to actually join boards together, so you can put multiple boards together to make a larger scene as well. Now these are incredibly simple to put together. They require no tools whatsoever. The only thing you actually need to build one of these boards is a pot of PVA glue. Now I've got a smaller pot of PVA glue here. Actually I had to can big 5 litre tubs into this for our builds. This is really handy though. It's got the nozzle on top. Nice and easy to add the glue onto the parts to actually join them all together. So what we'll do now, get all the parts out. We'll talk through the next phase of the process and start showing you how it goes together. So having taken the wrapper off this, I thought it was just worth walking through what you get inside it and how I've set things up when I build each one of these. So there's a series of different components in here. So you've got these with the rounded edges are spacers that you put in to allow other boards to be joined onto it. So we're going to put those to one side for the moment. You've got all the toothed sections like these, which have got the teeth across the top there to make your actual frame, which slots into the top of the board here. So put all those to one side as well. And then finally, the other 4 parts we've got here, these are the additional stretcher pieces, which go in at angles across each quarter of the board underneath to add a bit of strength in there as well. So there's 8 parts we don't need right now there. We'll come back to those in a bit. You've then got the plywood top here and a pack of bolts and washers and wing nuts there, which we can use to actually bolt multiple boards together if we wish to do so. Put those to one side as well. Right, don't need the top right now. I'll take that off the workbench, put it out of the way. And what we do need now is we need the 2 central parts of the board, which are distinctive by having a half-length slot in each of them. So they literally push together like that. So that is the central spine of the baseboard. Now we need our ends. Now what I recommend is you've got a cut face and an uncut face of each of these plywood MDF parts. And because of the way a laser cutter works, it puts a small angle in as well. So if you try and put them in from the uncut side here, it's going to be much more difficult to fit them onto the board. Whereas actually fitting them from the angled side in, they fit nice and neatly straight away and goes together a breeze. So to actually join the parts, I'm just simply using PVA glue. I don't need a huge amount of it. Just 3 little dots on here. That'll do the job for that. Then we can just push those 2 parts together. Repeat that for the other end. Pop that into place. Then we're going to flip this up on its side like that. And now PVA glue again in each of these end sections here. And we can bring one of our side panels in now and just carefully line that up with each of these sections. Press it into place. I need to make sure they are pressed fully home, otherwise they won't line up with the top when we put them on. Now we can flip that over. Give these another little press, make sure they are fully home, which they all are because they've not moved at all there. Then repeating the same on the other side now. Now we can put the other side into place on here. Okay, so that's our main structure now built. So we just put that to one side. We're going to grab our top deck. I'm just going to work around adding PVA in between each opening. Now we can grab the frame we made a minute ago. Line it up with the top board. It should just slot straight into place. Just like that. Right. We'll turn it over temporarily just to make sure that we get everything properly pressed into place all the way around, which we have there. Back the other way up, and now we can add all these stretcher support pieces in as well. It's just adding a bead of PVA glue around the edge of 3 sides of each of these, and then they just quite simply drop into each quarter. Right, they're all now in place, so we're on to the final phase, which is adding the stretcher pieces, which I'm going to add these on anyway. We won't necessarily need them because I'm not sure whether we're going to bolt multiple boards together, but there is then the choice, if anyone wants to do that later they can. So quite simply what I do for this is I put 2 of the bolts through the ends. and then PVA glue on one side of this. Pop that over the top of the bolts. And the reason the bolts are here at this point isn't to actually hold it in place, it's just to make sure that actually we do align it accurately with the main frame. So I'm not doing these nuts up tight, which is why I haven't put the washers in, but I'm just going to make sure that, you know, that hole is all correctly aligned, which it is. And then to repeat that for all the other sides. So my baseboard's complete in here and ready for me to start work on, and I've got quite a simple project idea for this diorama, but hopefully it's going to look interesting and make some great photographs as well. It's kind of what I'm aiming for with this project. So here's what I made earlier. This is one of our road cutting sections, which we've done with PJM models. It models the cutting on the West Coast main line. It's designed to take 2 tracks through it. And what I thought would be nice was actually to make a scene with road cutting with another feature from the PJM models collection, which we have available, which is the model of Watford Tunnel. Now, it's not quite as simple as I would like it to be to join these two things together, because you can see that there's a bit of a height discrepancy up in the corners here between the road cutting sides and Watford Tunnel. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to look at cutting down the top edge of the cutting all the way along, which should be able to make it the right height then to match in here. So actually it will then, I'll be able to cut it so it pretty much fits in right up to the top of Watford Tunnel. There is another minor little detail I've got to work around, which is actually that the birdcage top here comes right up to the tunnel mouth, which probably isn't quite right. I probably want a little gap to that. So I've got to look at a few little details of how we're going to fit those bits together. And then one of the other things I was just toying with as well whilst I was looking at this is actually, does it want to be straight down the middle of the board, or actually could it benefit from just being at a slight angle like that? Might just make it a slightly more interesting scene. And what I might need to consider as well is whether I need a second kit to actually create the extensions I need to join everything together nice and neatly, because really we want that to sit back there just like that, ahead of that one. Now, just thought of another thing. Bear with me, I'll be right back. So one of the things I was thinking was actually, I'm going to need another base plate for this, and I realised I had another spare from one of the early kit versions of the road cutting model here. So what I can do is move this tunnel portal out of the way for a moment. So if I'm going to go for this angled design across here like this, I could then use this as my base to extend it, which then give me, I need to cut across here to cut it to the right length, and I need to do the same for another piece to go at the other end as well. And then what I can do is this will give me the correct height all the way through, which means that I can position the tunnel mouth on top of this road cutting base, which will give me a nice level base all the way through this scene. So obviously I've got a bit of work to do now to go away and get all this marked up and ready to cut, so I can get that position there marked and chop it up and do the same for the other end as well, and then that'll give me quite a nice interesting little scene through here, which I think once you've got a loco down inside the cutting here, I think it's going to look quite smart actually. Should make some great photographs looking into there. Obviously it's going to be a little bit restricted when it comes to photographs, because it's basically going to be one shot looking through into the tunnel mouth, but when that's all black in the background there, and actually we've got all the bushes and foliage coming over the top here as well, this should make really quite a nice and attractive scene. Right, let's go and find out what the other guys are up to.
Introducing Key Model World, your new online destination for everything railway and scale modelling. Featuring exclusive videos and features, unseen images, step-by-step guides, railway history and the latest news. Plus, it's home to our full layout build series.
I'm going to stop you right there though, because I didn't do this. This is all you're doing.
Join us for the latest content from Key Publishing's modelling titles, Hornby Magazine and Airfix Model World. Sign up today for as little as £3.75 per month, or if you're a magazine subscriber, bolt Key Model World onto your subscription package now. For more details, visit keymodelworld.com.
Right, so the inspiration for my shed scene is I want to create a shed that's really sort of boxed in by suburbia. The inspiration for this actually came from a bit of archive footage I was watching of the southern region. And I noticed that bits of Nine Elms Shed were really, really, really close to all these sort of new build blocks of flats. There was actually a sign to tell the enginemen to keep their engine quiet because of, you know, how close it was to the houses. So I've taken that idea and I'm going to adapt it a little bit. The idea for this is this was an out-of-town shed. It was built away from the station, away from the town. But as the town has grown, it's sort of grown around the shed. So I want to try and have houses here, sort of boxing the shed in, houses here, boxing the shed in, so it really feels like the railway's quite constrained in. We've got this really nice Dunster shed building, which we're going to use as sort of the centrepiece for the layout, and a few little smaller pre-built or sort of ready-built items that have been in the magazine for reviews, sort of low-relief houses that are going to sort of dot around here and here and here. And maybe a tiny little bit of greenery as well, just to sort of add a bit of colour to the scene. I have got some ideas for future developments, plans, ways I can enhance the scene. If I just take the shed building off, there is obviously the potential to put lights in that shed if we've got enough time. I'd like to try and see if I can actually put a miniature smoke generator underneath the shed. Now, the boards are quite nicely raised up. I might have enough space to fit a very small one. But I have a little press of a button and I'll get a nice sort of cloud of smoke coming out of the shed. I think it'd be a really nice effect if I can manage to do that. But currently, just a row of sort of suburbia, urban houses if I can here. Along here, I've obviously got sort of, I'm just placing a few things around, you know, a greenhouse for a garden, things like that. Along the back, I think we are going to try and see if we can fit in one of these low relief, Pico low relief houses. They've got a really nice detailed garden. That would make some really nice sort of scenic modelling, some visual interest. And obviously for the railway, I'd really like to try and get the, a really sort of compacted dirt, earthy feel. What you see if you go to like a heritage steam shed, you just see sort of the black gravel, dirt that's been really sort of compacted in around the railway. So you get the sense this is a really well-used bit of track, you know, bit of line, maybe even a shed that's on its last legs and it's going to be closed down in the near future. But I think there's lots of opportunities here to try and make this an interesting thing, not just another shed scene, and add little bits of detail here and there. Right, so I'm happy with where the track is. So my next job is to cut the ends off and then we can look at ballasting. So I'm going to just remove the shed there. I've got a mini drill with a cutting disc, and this should make, hopefully, light work of the track. So just going to... So as you can see, the track has been cut. I'm quite happy with where things sit right now. I might put in one or two more track pins in some strategic places just to stop any movement. But overall, I'm really happy with this. Quite happy with where we're at to now. I think next is to give this some power so I can get a train moving. So I'll see you when I've got some solder and some wire. We've now reached the stage where we can start ballasting. I've chosen to go for a mixture of a fine and a medium ballast together. I'm just going to try and lightly sprinkle that on. Obviously the furthest line away, the one that's hidden by the shed, that one's going to be fully ballasted. And these two, I'm just going to go slightly inside the shed and then stop. I'm going to try and get the ballasting quite light because I want the majority of the surface out here to be that, as I said, the really sort of fine compacted sort of black mud, effectively, that you find outside depots and steam sheds. But yeah, just going to try and keep it quite nice, quite simple. Right, so just move those out of the way. Got my mixture here. Just a very light sprinkle. Just using my hands just to keep a sort of a nice fine control of where it goes, rather than using sort of a ballast spreader. I don't want a great big sort of explosion of ballast in any particular place, just a light, very light application of ballast where I need. I'm just going to use my finger just to spread it along a little bit. Ballasting is now complete. I quite like the effect that's starting to build up here. I've tried to be quite light on the ballast, and we've got some, you know, maybe this is where the yard starts to maybe go towards the main line, so we've got a bit more ballast here. It sort of peters away a little bit in these bits here. And then as we come up to the building, there's a little bit more at the start of each road of the shed, and obviously on the furthest track that you can't see, that's been ballasted all the way to the end. So I'm quite happy with this. I think you know, once this has been weathered, painted, and we've, you know, then we can start to really add in that sort of impacted, earthy feel that I'd like. So now it's time to seal down the ballast. We're just going to use some water and SBI adhesive just to get it sealed down really quickly. And then we should be able to see how we can develop this even further. The first thing I want to do is just wet down the entire scene. So just got a spray bottle. I'm going to do it quite far away. It's not to sort of disturb the ballast, but just there we are. I've just got a mixture of the adhesive. Just going to use a syringe. So let's go a little bit up, and then very slowly just very light with the syringe, just not to add too much. So yeah, that's one line ballasted. Just going to do the rest really quickly now, and then we'll just go wait for it to dry. Right, so I've finished putting the adhesive on, so just going to wait for this to dry. As for next steps include getting a train running. And I'd like to start weathering the track, starting to tone some of this down, using some sand in these little gaps here to start to give that really sort of impacted earth feel that I'm trying to go for. Might see if I can find a water crane, put that there, nice little Great Western water crane. But yeah, really, I think next time we're going to be detailing up the shed scene, and once that's done, we're going to move on later to the buildings on either side, starting to sort of complete the scene.
Hello, Howard Smith here from the Model Centre, and it's our great pleasure as sponsors of this video to introduce you to our massive collection of scenic products. So, you've got the track down, you've got the ballast down, what next? Well, if you take a look at our website, you'll see we cater for all your scenic modelling needs, from ballast to trees, static grass, even the finishing touches like die-cast vehicles and weathering powders. Check us out at themodelcentre.com.
So for my diorama challenge, I thought that I would do something I have never done before. I've always hated the subject, but I've seen modelled once or twice, and as things happened to fall into my lap, I thought, I can't not do this. In fact, I actually find it very challenging and quite fascinating. Now, there's a book I've had here for many years called An Artist Among the Ashes, and it's by the late and great artist David Shepherd, who of course used to own Black Prince and The Green Knight. And in the back of this book, there are some very chilling photographs to any steam enthusiast of locomotives ending their days at scrapyards such as Cashmore's. And of course, for someone who's a huge steam lover like myself, these images, I won't lie to you, the first time I ever saw them, I literally felt a lump in my throat. It's nothing that you really want to see. However, I was lucky enough to be given some gifts from the team at Ellis Clark Trains, and when I saw them I thought this could make an incredible diorama, which is also why we're doing this series. Now, as of course you know, Ellis Clark did release their O-Gauge Black 5, but of course a lot of models that do come out go through various stages of testing and tooling, such as the tooled samples, the decorated samples, any alterations up until the final delivery of the product. And here in front of me is just a handful of the rejects from the tooled samples and other tests that they did, which was basically surplus to requirements. So I literally have the makings here and in other boxes, what you can't see on camera, of about 4 or 5 black 5s. But as you can see over here, I have boilers, wheels, cylinders, smoke boxes, cabs, chassis, frames, tenders. I've got some Mark I coach ends and bogies, and for the eagled eye view, I have even asked them to upscale some of their WD-210O parts for my module, and you can see them just over here. However, I don't think they're going to release that locomotive in O gauge. So what my plan is to basically put down one piece of track at the front, which is going to be the scrap line, and then have the mound of scrap behind, and then I can add details such as some Model U figures, for example, and an oxyacetylene torch, and just build up the scene and really make it look like a flavour of Cashmore's, for example, or any other well-known scrap merchant where you have that massive pile of ex-locomotive parts in the background. So I have already cut up my piece of O-gauge track with the Dremel, which is the exact size I need, and to create the actual mound itself, I'm going to use this packaging foam, which has come in different boxes of furniture I've accumulated over the years, which I think you never throw these things away because you never know when they might come in handy. But the very first thing that I have to do is put this track down and then get my ground surface in. Now, what I like to do with my layouts, for example, Newton Grove, is I used sand, which was fantastic for ash. And when I look at a lot of the photographs of places like Cashmore's, the ground texture was very, very similar. Rock, ash, ballast, very light type of stuff, rather than bricks or concrete or thereabouts. So I'm going to glue this track down, put sand over the entire board, let that dry, spray the whole thing black, and then we can start to build everything else up on top of it. Wish me luck. And just like that, the basis of the diorama is completed, and I think it looks really, really good. Now, I wasn't talking outside, so let me just quickly recap what I did on camera. First of all, the track that I'd cut to length, I just glued down with PVA, and of course I just put some weights on top of that so it dried in the sun. It took about 15 minutes, just to make sure that it was nice and firm on the board without moving or coming off in the center. After that, of course, I got my foam packaging, and I put a few blocks down in the back, but then obviously wanting to create more of a slope and some uneven terrain so that all the different bits of the locomotives and the wheels and so forth can really build up a mound. Of course, I cut through it, tore it apart, randomized it, and just put it everywhere. And as you can see here, I've sort of got this formation now that comes up in a very steep climb, as you saw from those photographs before. So we're going to have that nice big mound of scrap behind whatever's over here on these two tracks. Lastly, of course, I had a bag of kiln-dried sand. Now, I was given that tip and technique from Stephen Fay many years ago when he built his layout Cardiff Canton, and I subsequently used it on my layout Newton Grove. Sand, I think, is the most amazing material that you can use for yards, whether that be a diesel depot, a steam shed, or even just a yard such as a scrapyard. It's very fine, and the good thing is you get a massive bag, and it's very, very cheap. I put that down in the tried and tested method. As you saw, I covered the entire board full of sand, wet everything down with a mist of water, and then with my 50-50 mix of water and PVA glue, I took a pipette, and it took a long time, but I eventually went around the entire baseboard, making sure that all the sand was covered with the PVA diluted mix. And the other thing I did is, as that was going on, there were patches where the sand was separating. I could see the board underneath. So I just kept sprinkling some sand across to make sure there was no bare board exposed. the good thing that has actually done is it's also created some small mounds. So over here, you probably can't see it on the camera, but there's a few mounds over here and here. There's a lot of uneven surfaces, so it isn't just a flat, sandy board. When you look at it from ground level, it's got an undulation like you'd find in any yard. Of course, earth yards, they're never dead flat and straight and perfect, and this is fantastic. And even though the pipette has left a few marks, as you can probably see over here, that's not going to matter too much because, of course, arguably things would have fallen on the ground would have got dented and marked, or things could have been dragged along. So I don't mind that there's a few impurities in this at the moment. So what I have to do now is wait until all this dries, and then I'm going to go over with acrylic paint. Now using a spray paint, and this time it is the Humbrol Matte Black. And I use matte black because, number one, it gives everything a really good coat to grime it down, and of course it's not glossy, it looks fantastic. The sand really takes to it. I can then clean the top of the rails if I wish. I can then go on and paint the rails with a rust wash, and because they're matte black from the spray, the rust looks really, really fantastic. And what I can do after all that is dry as well is to go through with some weathering powders from the Humbrol range, such as the Dark Earth or Smoke or thereabouts, make up a grey mixture and just give the ground texture a nice weathering effect. And I've done that once again on Newton Grove, and it worked to a really, really good effect. So for now, I'm going to have a brew, wait until this dries, and then we will start to spray this black. A lot of progress has been made, as you can see. And it's really starting to look the part, isn't it? You can see how that black spray has just really toned everything down. And of course, you'll also notice that I did leave a few patches of the sand color showing up because whilst I'm going to weather this down, I may as well have a few light patches coming out because I can use that as my sort of base weathering and then just add the Humbrol powders to that later on. As I said to you, what I'll also do very soon as I go along, and I'll put some rust on the track, and I will weather everything down, but I'm going to let this dry first and foremost before I tackle all of that. So I've just put everything randomly on the board for now, just to sort of see how the scene is looking, and I actually think it looks pretty damn good. It's one of those dioramas where you probably need to move around from 3 sides to really sort of appreciate everything you can see. I mean, for example, we've got the Black 5 here, the boiler's already gone and been scrapped. We've got a 16-ton mineral wagon over here, which is full of scrap. We've got the Black 5 tender, or it could be an 8F tender, which that side's been taken off, so I can really weather all this down now and start to really put a lot of junk on the front and other bits and pieces. And of course, the huge pile at the back, the smoke boxes, the cylinders, the wheel sets, the carriage ends, the cabs. There's a lot of things here, and of course I can put a lot more into this as well because I've only really covered about 50% of it. Well, for part 1 of this diorama challenge, I think that's probably as far as I'm going to go to. Well, let's see what the other boys can do. And in part 2, I'll start to do things like the weathering of the stock, of the actual board itself, and really start to bring this detailed scene more and more to life. So let's have a look what the other chaps are doing.
The exciting and ever-expanding world of TT120 scale is here, and it's all available to you through the Key Model World shop. Online, we have availability of locomotives, rolling stock, buildings, accessories and track from the Hornby TT120 range, plus our own exclusive collection of PGM models laser cut kits for platforms, viaducts and tunnel mouths as well. Plus you can pre-order new items from manufacturing TT120 scale with us, including Hornby's J50-060 tanks and Class 37s, as well as the Revolution Trains JNA and MMA bogie wagons for TT120 scale. Head on over to keymodelworld.com/shop to explore the full range, and don't forget to check out our videos of the products that are available for the range, both on the shop and on Key Model World itself. Welcome to the exciting world of TT120.
Right, well, here we go. This is my little diorama plan. As I alluded to previously, I wanted to do a little photo plank diorama of some form that I can display my southern region diesels and possibly even electrics on. So as a result, I thought what we'll do is we'll create something that I've had in mind for a while, It involves one of these kits, which is the exclusive PJM diesel depot kit, the 4-row kit that we have here via the Key Publishing shop. It will involve some 00 gauge track, which I have here, and it's quite a straightforward, simple plan, but it's going to require this building to be chopped. So this will be going through the process of being cut up, because actually what I want to do is create a low relief version of this depot, but it's not going to stay the same as this depot, because I've actually, like the southern region did to a lot of its depots, it clad them with corrugated material. So this will have corrugated material clad over it. So eventually, the plan being, and you won't see this very well, but basically it's 5 tracks coming out from this depot. I was going to try something a little bit different and see if I get a point in, but actually the reality is on this one that the size of the board isn't quite going to work, because really I need another board to actually have that further up, because the idea is that if this is sitting, and I would suggest it's going to be about there, so 2 segments of this will be sat there as a backdrop. The idea being that you can have locomotives coming in. So I'm using or planning to use some of this Legacy Models track, which was through DCC Concepts, and it's their bullhead track, but the idea is that this will disappear off into the background, and you'll have the tracks coming out of the depot, for example, like this. Not very elegant the way I'm doing it, but it'll make sense in due course. So this will come through like that. Those will close up as well. You get the nice sleeper spacing as well. Hopefully this one will then go in there like that. Looks so much easier, doesn't it, when you're watching it on the TV? So that, and then I've got a final section of track that I'm aiming to put in along here. Now, this track here, I'm also then aiming to have a diesel fueling point. And the diesel fueling point that I'm using, or aiming to use, is one that was has been done recently by Railway Laser Lines. So it's another laser cut kit. But it's based on the diesel depot kit, or the diesel depot, or fueling point, if you like, at Immingham, Lincolnshire. But I'm going to, for the purposes of what I want, pop this in and around here. So this will be built up effectively around here. So there's enough room there for that to fit in. I've also got a nice little set of offices that could go in down here as well, as a sort of shunter's bothy, if you like, just to make something work there. This will have a buffer stop here. These 4 lines though, what I was going to do, I'm going to put a backboard up here, but actually have the backboard in such a way that it hides the fact that this is cut off, so the locos could go onto a future storage yard board, and the same way as being able to come off here and go onto another board and actually create something a little bit more versatile, if you like. But if we have these 2 cut off here like this, in theory, what we can then do, and here's some I didn't quite prepare earlier, but I have them here. The idea is that once I've got my locomotives, and as I say, I've got some suitable southern region motive power. Once this is clad with the relevant cladding, which hopefully by the next time you see this, that will have started to happen, you'll get a better idea, if you like, of how I'm intending this to turn out. But once you've got, in my mind, I've always been a fan of, there was the diesel depot at Hither Green. Now, this isn't going to be anywhere near quite that, but it's going to have similar sort of principles, if you like. But that was the depot in South London, which I've always had an interest in. I've certainly got the motive power, it's just whether or not we can make this appear in a similar vein. So, as I say, all this unboxing of material, of locomotives and what have you, just gives a little bit of a flavour of what I'm trying to attempt. And by the time we get to the next point, that will hopefully mean that I should be able to get, certainly with these roads here, you could get 8 locomotives there, you could get 1 there running back and forth. Could quite easily put a couple of little cassettes on the end there, just to have, or on the end of this one here, or on the end of down there, and have things running back and forth fairly quickly. So yeah, that's in a nutshell roughly what I'm trying to achieve with this. I need to obviously cut this building, slice it, so that's going to be quite delicate to do, but we'll give that a good go and get that sorted. Once the backboard is there as well, that should then enable me to start laying the track, ballasting the track, getting things wired up, building this kit, which will probably take an evening, painting it up, putting it all together. I've already got a building that I can make use of here, which is a southern region bothy. So again, that would fit in quite nicely there. And actually, before long, we've got something that should start to stack up quite well. I need to get some plastic sheet for doing the cladding on here. And I'm probably, it's either going to be the Wills thicker sheet, because actually I quite like using that. So I might try that and see how that looks. That comes in material packs, so we'll get some of that. I did some buildings on West Coast cement using that, and that actually went together very quickly and very simply. So I can't envisage this taking too long. By the time I've got some plastruct kind of angled edging, I think that'll probably take an evening to do, get that sorted. Couple of lunchtimes here, couple of lunchtimes there, and we should be in a position to get this running and working and looking a little bit more exciting. But as I say, this is the bare bones, if you like, of what I've got in my mind. It's going to be that half relief or low relief diesel depot, fueling point, building, and just general depot detritus. So hopefully by the time we get to part 2, this will have been cut down to size. It may already have been clad. Once this is cut and clad, that then allows me to work out the spacing for the tracks to go in. I could do all that beforehand and get it in there, but I would rather just err on the side of caution at this stage and make sure that I've done everything so that things don't catch or what have you. Then we can get the track laid down, get it ballasted. Because it's a depot, it doesn't need to be heavily ballasted, it can just be lightly ballasted. Then it can be weathered, this can be installed, this may even be assembled by the time we come to the second part. Hopefully it will be. As I say, it should take an evening to put together. Then once it's gone in here, installed into the base, I can set it in, paint it up, get the rest of that bit ballasted, get the building that I'm going to put in here as well sorted. That I already have constructed, so that's all ready to go. So all being well, it will all start to take shape next time you see the diorama. So as I mentioned, this is the kit that we need to cut down. At the moment it's 5 segments, but I only really need 2 segments for what I'm aiming to achieve, because that's going to be on the end of the board there, if you like. So I need to cut this slice the segment off. Now this is a fairly sturdy structure. However, it's also quite delicate. I also know my limitations. And with modelling, it's always good to know what you're good at and what you're perhaps not so great at. Play on your strengths and call upon other people, perhaps, who are skilled in various other areas. And I'm very lucky to know a Mike who's very good with cutting in a straight line. So we need to just track Mike down, and what we'll do is see if I can persuade him very nicely to have a go.
So you were suggesting you might need some thing cutting up?
A little bit of help, because you've got a very good eye
and we've got tools
and the ability to cut in a straight line, as you've demonstrated with baseboards year after year. However, I know that if I cut that, it would almost be a semicircle. So, yeah.
I'm sure it wouldn't be that bad. But fortunately, it's quite an easy structure to cut this, because one of the things it's got inside it is it's got this line round here of the framework which we can follow.
Yeah.
So I can follow that line to actually make the cut.
Right.
And what I may also see if I can do, actually even before we make any cuts, is whether I can actually pop these windows out, which I can.
Okay.
By the look of it. It's a bit of a rough handling job here, but we can pop these windows out.
Yeah.
And it just helps me to get a clearer access to the framework to do the job nice and neatly. Some of them are easier to get to than others. Makes a lovely sound as well, doesn't it?
Don't they just? Scary sound for some.
We'll peel some windows out, it'll be fine,
yeah.
Mark.
Let's spend hours building it and then we'll deconstruct it.
So this is classic Mike modelling now, because I've got half a plan, but
you did a good job building this, got to say.
I must admit, actually, I didn't actually build this one.
Did you not?
No, Phil built this one. I'm
Phil
Phil's
built that
work
one.
now.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't mind. He'll just be pleased to see it used. So, now, not all those windows have come out as neatly as I would like, but they've all come out pretty well, really. So that one's come out perfect. Look at that. Could use that again.
Could use that again.
Yeah.
Of course, the other thing that could do, you see, is if I really wanted to, is put another board alongside and then use the 3-part section, turn it around and use that as well.
There
and
you
you've got an 8 roads.
Yeah.
Depot. Anyway.
So that's now given us a really clear line that I can use to cut the roof. And I know that I'm not going to hit any of this structure then either whilst I'm cutting. So, technically I should probably put a pencil line on it, but
move that track
maybe
out the
move
way.
the track out of the way,
Yeah, make life a little simpler for you.
So this could be a 5-minute job, or it could be a 10-minute job. We're about to find out. If you wouldn't mind just moving a model out of the way as well.
Of course.
So when I'm doing something like this, I'm not looking to just go straight through it in one cut. I'm not actually thinking that I want to start by cutting here, because I know it's going to be nice and easy to cut this piece. Then I'll cut that section and so forth and work my way around. But all of it's following the line of the internal structure. I'm slightly wonky on that corner, but I don't think it'll matter too much.
It'll be fine.
Did we get all the way through there? It looks like we probably did. Just check from the inside. We've got quite some significant structure in there to get through as well. So let's remind myself where those are. I see, yep. So I've got a bit more to get through.
Okay.
That's it, that's that one done. That's that one done. Where's these ones? There they are. That's it. So we're through all those now. So make my life a bit easier now.
Oh yeah.
Take those bits out. Look how neat, we didn't even just saw for that side.
I know, amazing.
Right, let's finish the roof. I hope people appreciate my destructive modelling, because it is quite destructive.
Oh, this is the fun part.
Oops. We won't mention that bit. Might need to spot super glue there, Mark. I just caught that.
That's fine, but I'm going to clad that anyway, so...
Okay, you'll be right then. Okay, it's tucked back in, you can't tell.
I'm cladding over that. I'll probably take those windows out anyway. But,
don't tell anyone, no one knows.
No.
Best way angle to cut this. It's like that. So yeah. Oof.
Oh, look at that.
So, it's back to doing your project now, Mark.
It is, isn't it? Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
I've raced you, I've got my project. See you
Yes.
later.
I love it. Thank you very much. Look at that. Now that will just sit around there nicely. So that get a better idea now, and there's going to be a board, if you like, panel, sit off the back there with an opening probably to be able to go off to the stapling point. I love it. Thank you very much. So you've already seen the track in place. We've now got the low relief depot, which has been very kindly crafted so that it fits into the space that we're looking for. So next time that you join me with the layout here, we'll hopefully have cladding on this building. The plan also is to have the fuel point in place, track in place, and we can start the basic ballasting process and just some of the little bits of detail to add in. And with a little bit of luck, it will all be coming together and looking a little bit more like a diesel depot as I intended. See you next time.
Right, so that's the first part of all dioramas started and up to, well, their current form. And I must say, I was actually very surprised at just how much I could achieve just in step one without leaping into step two.
I was surprised how little I achieved before getting to step two, but you know, it's made some progress. Yeah, at least you've got some baseboards built.
Look, the thing that I'm actually enjoying the most is 4 different people, 4 different ways of modelling, and as you can already see, we've got 4 completely different dioramas. I mean, obviously you've got road cutting, we've got a diesel depot, a steam depot, and as you can see behind me, the formings of a scrapyard. So it's completely different in a very small footprint, really.
Indeed, yeah, and actually I think that's quite nice about this as well, is that typically when you build a model railway, you're trying to spread your eye line or view across a larger scene. And sometimes it's nice to work on a little pocket. Obviously, when you're building a model railway, you do tend to work on a diorama at a time, I suppose, in a way. But then, if you're a bit like me, then you get distracted by the other diorama,
everything else,
the other diorama.
Yes, and oh, there's a train going by.
Yes, exactly. You get distracted by everything. Yeah, but it's quite nice to have that focus of a diorama to go. I'm building this. And it fits into 2 foot by 2 foot in round numbers, and it's quite a nice way of modelling.
Look, and I think that anyone who's been to Model World Live, I think that you'll agree with me, you really can do so much in such a small space, whether that is either spread out or going up. I mean, we've seen some amazing dioramas of all sort of models at Model World Live over the past 2 years. And the thing I quite like is that you can really just immerse your skills. It doesn't have to be about things running or moving. You can really just pay attention to detail or different techniques. And I think that's part of the fun of this challenge.
Yeah, actually, and the other thing, actually, from my own side, is that I'm trying out techniques that I want to put into a bigger layout as well. Little things like, for example, the new concrete cable trunking that's coming up. I've got to show how to use that. You know, it's little details that you can try your hand at in a small scene where you haven't got to commit to a big layout all in one go. And you can test things out, which is another beauty of a diorama as well.
As we said at the beginning of this video, we have used the Scale Model Scenery's large baseboards, and they're all the same size, and they really are perfect either for small layouts if you want to join them together, or a diorama, and hopefully so far part 1 has inspired you to have a go, and you can see just how much you can fit. I mean, we've got, for example, our own kits there as far as, you know, the diesel depot, we've got road cutting and Watford Tunnel. You can put so much into such a small baseboard, and they're wonderful like that.
They certainly are, and I'm really looking forward actually to seeing road cutting set in with a proper tunnel mouth at the back of it, where you'll be able to take that really nice shot inside. I've got some nice ideas coming up in the next parts of how that's all going to come together.
What you could do is you could put a black backing in there with a small little, you know, LED light where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
That's a nice idea actually.
It is,
because I do have some ideas about you know, presentation and stuff. I just want to kind of, I don't know. There's some ideas. You'll see.
There you go. Well, look, we hope you've enjoyed part 1 with everything we've started so far. Make sure you hang around for part 2, of course, which you can watch for free if you are a freemium subscriber to keymodelworld.com. You can watch it totally for free. and trust me, you're going to love to see what we all do individually.
Indeed, and then obviously join us on Key Model World, not just for Series 12, but all the other series we've ever produced. So if you do sign up for a Key Model World subscription, you aren't just signing up to watch just one piece of video.
Nope.
No, you've got full access to all 12 series so far, all our back catalogue of magazines back to 2015, and about 6,000 modelling articles. So
just a few.
Yeah, just there's some decent value in that, I think. So
absolutely. So look, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in part 2.